to elaborate a little bit, I got all my stuff done and I have a few minutes, so to try to calm myself down, I'm going to walk through this, see if my brain churns through anything and finds a problem or anything. This morning, the structure of this room here was on the far wall where the white, whatever that stuff is, wrap. Where that stuff was, I had just batt insulation, and then on this wall here, I had batt insulation, and then this rigid board on the outside foamed and sealed. Then on this, you can see the rigid board still up here. I had a piece secured to that so that this room, the goal was to not have such a temperature differential between where it's out here, where it was like 20 this morning, versus inside, and have moisture build up inside of this unit, right? That was the original problem, so I thought this had fixed it. What it had done, though, is it had just created a scenario where the moisture wasn't in the unit, which is good, but it was against the board, in between the batt insulation and the board, and between the batt insulation and the wrap. So I took all that off. The insulation got laid out in the mealworm farm to evaporate the moisture. That worked really well. I laid a few outside while I had to work in the farm. They're now in the farm because it didn't work to go outside. It's too cold. It just froze. It didn't evaporate. So they're in there. That way I can get rid of all the moisture. And the fan is on to blow against that wall. And again, ideally get rid of that moisture. And now I'm wondering, like, in the farm, the whole outside shell is that white wrap, batt insulation, and the rigid board. And now I'm kind of freaking out because is there just a boatload of moisture in that batt insulation growing mold for the last year? I hope not, because in the scenario of this room, the moisture had nowhere to go. It was trapped. Whereas against that wrap and batt insulation on the inside, the rigid board was on the inside of the envelope. And so that should have stopped any moisture from escaping and building up in there. And it would just be ambient moisture, which should evaporate in and out. But now I think I have to break open a section of that wall and take a look. And if there are any HVAC envelope home inspector people that have any insight, please let me know. My plan is to let this fan run overnight, let it all just really dry out. I'm not going to seal it up. I have closed off on the inside where this HVAC is hooked into. I've closed off the intake and the outlet to stop airflow through that thing so that it doesn't build up moisture and it stays the same temp outside as it is inside, or it stays the temp outside here, so there's not a differential and moisture won't build up. Yeah, if I'm missing anything or you guys have any ideas, like I checked that wall and there's no moisture buildup. And I think that's because it has a place to escape, and the rigid board on the other side is stopping any moisture. Like that room over on the other side of that is 50% humidity. And so there's nothing over on this side of that board in between the batt insulation and the board. So I'm very confident with that. Less confident at this point with that. But I'll check it tomorrow. Got to get this wrapped. And by wrapped, I mean batt insulation and rigid board then on the inside. And then let some of the ambient temperature into that room. Basically, I'll mirror what the mealworm room is and put insulation up on the top, because I realize now there's none there, so I'm glad I did this. Yeah, that's where I'm at.